Hi, this is Dr. Dan Langley, and if you're ready to question everything that you think that you know, to uncover your true purpose and unleash your true potential, then join us as we dive deep into eye-opening discussions. What you hear may just change your sight forever. As a board-certified ophthalmologist, I've been dealing with eye issues for the last 20 years. What I've found in the operating room is that when I'm dealing with cataracts, is that I see all sorts of different distortions in patients' vision. It's not only just a physical distortion of their vision, but actually a perceptual distortion as well. And so conditions like refractive error, cataracts, macular degeneration, or diabetes, and even glaucoma, all these things can cause distortions in your vision. But are these distortions absolute? Carl Jung said, if you fail to make the unconscious conscious, it will rule your life and you will call it fate. What if we were to discover what type of distortions we have, not only in our physical body, but also in our perceptual field as well? One of those aspects that I see frequently in the office is something called refractive error. And so what a refractive error is simply when the light that comes into your eyes is bent in different ways so that it can focus back on your retina. So if there's any distortions in your tear film, in your cornea, in the aqueous fluid that separates your iris from your cornea, if there are any membranes within the pupillary margin itself, and even when you get back into the lens itself, this is where cataracts can occur and distortions of that lens can occur. But what we're talking about as far as refractive error, this is the most common condition that affects people across the planet. So in refractive errors, such as myopia, the light rays are actually bent by the cornea and the lens into the space in front of the retina, thus causing a blurriness that you then perceive in your mind. Also, as far as hyperopia is concerned, the light rays are focused actually behind the retina in virtual space. So again, you have another distortion where things are blurry. And astigmatism is where the light rays kind of get focused in, instead of a single point on the retina, in more of a line of distortion. And if we go through our life with an uncorrected refractive error, what we see is not going to quite be clear. If we're unaware that we have a refractive error, we may honestly believe that the way that we perceive light is actually true, when in fact it's simply just a distortion. So if we know that we have a physical distortion in our eyes, there are many things that we can do to try to treat that, such as contacts, glasses, refractive surgery, and even cataract surgery. But what happens if we have distortions that are beyond the physical and into the realm of, say, metaphysical? If we take for a moment to use our imagination to discuss our vision and compare it to how we maybe see time. Einstein had said that for us believing physicians, the distinction between past, present, and future is a stubbornly persistent illusion. And so what does he even mean by that? Is the past, the present, and the future simply just an illusion that we've agreed that is true? And if so, would somehow our distorted way of perceiving the past, present, or future somehow shade the way that we see our reality? Maybe myopia could be, and myopia is nearsightedness. Maybe if we look at myopia and how that focuses the light rays in front of the retina so we get a blurry vision, what if we were perceiving the past as somehow different than it actually was? Would that not taint or change the way that we perceive the future now? What if the future that hasn't quite occurred yet? What if we are focused too much on the future and not the present now? Would that distort our perception and our experience of the now? What if we didn't know that we were stuck in a perceptual myopia or hyperopia, or stuck in a perceptual past or present? We would find that we would miss out on the now. And that's, from Einstein's perspective, that's all that we really have right now. So when dealing with a refractive error, both on the physical plane and on the spiritual plane as well, it's important to recognize that we may have distortions in the way that light or the truth is perceived by our physical body, our emotional body, and our mental body as well. And at any time, if we're aware that we may have distortions, that we may be not seeing the full truth, we can take an assessment of ourselves and say, is there a way that I could perceive that differently? Are there some refractive errors in the way that I perceive reality that are causing me problems. Because again, the whole point of this discussion is to identify ways in which we're causing ourselves problems and to simply empower ourselves to overcome those challenges and problems. The point of me bringing up these physical conditions was to say that a lot of times we're unaware that we have these distortions in our life and in our vision. That when doing cataract surgery, it's like I see different layers of cloudiness and different discolorations that I've heard from patients distort their way that they see the world. They see browns instead of purples, they see yellows instead of whites. And so this type of distortion can interfere with the way that we interact with reality. So that was the whole purpose of trying to discuss that, to have kind of three ways in which our perception through the visual system can interfere with the way that we experience life. What type of toxic perceptions are we bringing forward in our life that we're not unaware of? And so, such as cognitive disorders, such as all or nothing thinking, or if it's not perfect, then it's a failure, or emotional reasoning, such as I feel bad, so the situation might be bad. Some people believe that excessive focus on the past is a symptom or it results in depression, and a unhealthy focus on the future is anxiety. So if you suffer from depression or anxiety, then recognizing that, according to Einstein and many others, that the past and the future are simply just an illusion. We can focus on the now and thus relieve the symptoms of depression or anxiety. And if we're unaware that we're doing that, then this may say, oh, wow, I never thought about it that way. And same thing with kind of distortions in our vision, talk about why we have distortions. But we have distortions in our perspective, such as we can have negative self-beliefs. And so that we say, I can never do anything right. And/or we can have unhealthy, relationship, unhealthy relationship mindsets where we think that we should control other people because that somehow allows us to feel more control over ourselves. Just simply saying that these four different aspects, refractive error, cataracts, macular degeneration, diabetes, and glaucoma, are physical ailments that have parallels in our perceptual realm. And if we're unaware of these things, then they can kind of run our lives, and we will call it fate. And so now you can see how a distortion in either our physical vision or in our perception of that physical vision can cause all sorts of problems for our life. So hopefully now you can start to take assessment of how you feel you're presenting yourself and what truth you find in the light that's shining into your life. And hopefully this can allow you to see more clearly and achieve the type of life that you're looking for. And so if this has been helpful, please decide to subscribe and click to receive more information about this. But otherwise, join us next time where I'll discuss more ophthalmic conditions that can also affect your perception.